Reg, tell me, what exactly is the Commonwealth Walkway?
Well, it's a concept that evolved right after the Queen's Jubilee, back in the 70s, I think it was, where they established a walkway, a historical walkway through London, um, featuring highlights of what happened here, the historical spots. And it became so popular that the people were using it over and over again, and the numbers increased, and the businesses boomed as a result along that strip. And then the idea came up, well, let's extend this to other places, other cities, other islands. And eventually it became part of what's called the Jubilee Walkways. And then it became the Walkway Trust. And then the Commonwealth picked it up and they said, well, let's establish walkways in every Commonwealth country. And Antigua was the first to have one here in 2016.
Antigua, ahead of the curve as always.
Leading as usual.
As always.
But what they decided to do was, since we already had a fantastic trail system through what was just become a World Heritage Site, they decided let's use those trails because, in theory, those trails are on land that's more or less protected and in a special zone that's managed. And all of that would not have happened without the efforts of the Royal Antigua Naval Yacht Club. And they're the key players behind all of this. And they created this and they maintain it. And they continue to maintain this sort of partnership with the parks. And so this whole thing sort of evolved into what it is today. And you can see we have two plaques and to commemorate the event. And the idea is to get people out, open air, walking, exploring, learning history, heritage, nature, and some of the island scenes that most Antiguans have never been to. But because of this, because of COVID, people were allowed to go outside and to wander about and to walk and healthy things because you didn't, just come out of lockdown, they want activities to do. And it boomed. I met so many people, sorry, who decided they're going to walk the walkway trails and they're going to walk along the hills. And it became a major, there's one guy who told me he counted 250 people one day on that trail. He was there looking for birds. And he's an avid birder. And he said he just sat there and he just sort of made a note of how many people actually coming up into this birding area. And he was absolutely shocked. He told me right down to how many dogs came by, how many tourists, how many locals, how many school kids. And he's just absolutely blown away. And he thought, this is fantastic and we should do this elsewhere in the island. And they have. They've been walking the trails now all over Antigua. People are hiking. There are no people making a living hiking along these trails and taking tourists and taking visitors and taking locals, exploring in the forest and the hills of Antigua. But this is the heart of it. This is where it really started.
Great that this has extended to other parts of the island. And the huge paths here, they cover all sorts of things. They are incredibly popular, as you pointed out. Is it all part of UNESCO as well?
No, the walkway is completely different. It just happens to be in a World Heritage Site. And the other walkways are not part of the official Commonwealth Walkway. They're just local paths that Antiguans use for hiking.
I mean, the fact that the National Parks is part of UNESCO is a huge cachet for the island. People from around the world look at it. I mean, why is that so important here?
Well, it's you have to go through a series of criteria and valuation of your site, comparative analysis. You have to have a certain degree of authenticity, and you have to have excellent management, a team on board, be financially viable because they don't want another burden, and you have to prove that you can do what you're doing and you have the expertise in place. We have all of that here in the national parks. Over the years, we've been building up capacity. And it was almost a shoo-in. We had not even a single question or single opposition when the nomination came up in Istanbul. And we got a standing ovation for this little island who presented a perfect dossier when they were at the time shooting on all of Frank Lloyd Wright's houses and stuff like that. So we had some major competition and we came out, not a single question. Standing ovation from the rest of the world.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Antigua got an ovation from the rest of the world.
Little Antigua led the way again.
Now, I know that the current Minister of Tourism is really on board with UNESCO and would like some more. Are there other areas, do you think, that we could be putting forward to UNESCO?
Well, it's hard to find another site that can stand alone like the Dockyard and this area. But there are others that we could probably create, take some creativity, create what's called a serial nomination, which is a cluster of sites, not attached, but they're all linked along a single theme. So it's up to us to come up with a theme. And what we're also responsible to the UNESCO is to provide a tentative list of our heritage sites that are protected and are managed or going to be managed and as potential candidates for future nominations. And they have several listings. There's Managing the Biosphere, which is a site that's just sort of protected and managed.
Yeah.
Then there's the next level up with a tentative listing. And then finally, there's the World Heritage. But do we really want all sites to be World Heritage? It's entirely up to the country. Some countries have as much as, like Cuba, I think, has 16 of them.
Oh, wow.
And no, there may be 16 in the region. I think Cuba has, well, I think over 10 for sure. But what do we have here? So I've been looking, the minister wants me to look at possibilities. When I'm thinking along the term of, I'm trying not to make it too colonial,
Yeah.
but what do we have? The best monuments we have, or can we go natural site? What do we have that's natural, that's like a beautiful landscape or hills or geological formations? So I'm thinking probably some of the heritage that created Antigua.
Yes.
Maybe the church and state and economy, and a theme like that. And you could look at, say, maybe link Fort James, and you could link with the St. John's Cathedral and the courthouse or government house, and Parham's Church, Parham's Church, and Gilbert's Memorial, which was a local church. So you could create a theme like that, but it's getting all of these people to manage it and keep it and respect UNESCO rules.
It does give us certain,
that creates a challenge.
Certain limitations and things that we have to maintain.
And they're having that issue right now with the Barbados site.
Really?
Yeah, they're having problems because there's a lot of spread so far, and there are so many different owners who want to do different things with their sites. So tying them to that monumental site. But you see, these aren't monuments, these are continuing cultural landscapes. So you expect there to be some evolution, but it has to be along the lines that it's in keeping with what they call the outstanding universal values that site was nominated under.
Outstanding universal
OUV.
value. Isn't that amazing?
That is the bottom line. The first question they ask you, how does it threaten the OUV? And that's what they look at when we send in applications to construction projects around here. They look to see, how does it change it? How does it alter that continuing landscape? And the site, the picture, I've been to so many offices, UNESCO offices, and the picture they have on the wall is the view from Shirley Heights looking along this west coast.
That's the main one in the Commonwealth office.
In a lot of offices, even in Gatwick, when you walk along the ramp going to Gatwick, what view do you see there? You see this one.
That is the iconic view of Antigua.
It's the iconic view of Antigua. So for us to really change its overdevelopment, especially inappropriate overdevelopment, that will really be a stain on Antigua. I mean, for one person to make a lot of money at the detriment to everybody else, to me, that's not right.
Now, one of the things that we have over there, Galleon Beach, most beautiful walk, one of the most popular of the Commonwealth Walkways in Antigua. Dozens of people every week, during the week as well. And we have seen a certain amount of pushback from people who've been buying land in the national parks and actually blocking the pathways. Now, do we have any protection for our Commonwealth Walkway? Is there anything that says that is a Commonwealth Walkway, thou shalt not build on that?
No, it's entirely up to the country to have its own internal laws.